You could be forgiven for thinking the Southern Railway was all about electric trains. While it certainly was, it also had many remarkable steam locomotives that performed brilliantly and were stunning looking machines as well. In this video we'll take a look at some more of my dad's collection of kit and scratch built metal locomotives. The two bills you see here were converted from triangle subunits. Here we have a Stroudley Terrier, or Router, A1X class. This one, once named both Knoll and Bembridge, is seen here in 1937 condition. The model is fitted with an Anchorage DS10 motor and is well able to handle big trains. The K&ESR Sussex has 2 of the 10 surviving members of this class of 50 small 060 tank locomotives. Built by the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway between 1872 and 1880. These locos had a capacity for hard work far in excess of their diminutive size. Designed by Brighton's company's locomotive engineer, William Stroudley, they were introduced as Class A, later A1. Between 1911 and 1947, nearly half of the class was rebuilt, with improved boilers and longer smoke boxes, and was redesignated as A1X. Famous for their work on the Havant to Hayling line in Hampshire, these remain ever popular little engines. My thanks to Graham Sivyer of K&ESR Sussex Railway for the fine photograph of 2678 as she is now. Next we have the very elegant South Eastern and Chatham Railway Wainwright D class, number 1737, once nicknamed Copper Tops. This model is in 1936 condition and is fitted with an open frame 1001 type motor, as are all the locos you will see next. An initial 20 engines were constructed at the Ashford Railway Works and Glasgow builder Sharp Stewart Company. I'm grateful to Dave from locoyard.com for this stunning picture of the only surviving member of this elegant class, seen here at the National Rail Museum. The first of the class to enter service in 1901 was a Glasgow product, and by 1907 51 were in traffic. Of these, 21 were built at Ashford, while the rest were supplied by outside contractors. The D-Class was a Harry Wainwright design, and he was responsible for the overall look of the engine. The detail work was undertaken by Robert Surtees, his chief draftsman at Ashford. Underneath the flowing curves and symmetry of the exterior lay a sure-footed machine that responded well to hard work. Initially, the D-Class was put to work on the Kent coast and Hastings service out of London. By the 1930s, the largest allocation of D-Class 440s was at Gillingham Depot in Kent, but they had by now been reduced to secondary train duties and were carrying the livery of the Southern Railway. At the outbreak of World War II, some of the D-classes were placed into storage. Then in 1941, others were transferred to Nine Elms Depot. A handful were based at Red Hill, on the Reading-Tonbridge cross-country line. They spent their final years around Guildford in Surrey. And the last of the D-classes, number 31075, was withdrawn from there in 1956. Now we have a London, Brighton and South Coast Railways K-Class or Mogul locomotive by LB&SCR. This model is in 1938 condition. The Ks were a powerful 260 mixed traffic locomotive designed for the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway in 1913. They appeared shortly before the First World War, and the first 10 examples of the class did great work during the First World War, hauling heavy munitions and military supply trains from the marshalling yard at Three Bridges to Newhaven and Littlehampton harbours. Up to 60 supply trains a day were being handled by these two ports. Locomotives in the class were capable of hauling trains up to 1,000 tonnes at 30 to 35 miles an hour, but were equally useful when hauling troop trains. Further locos were built after the war. The locomotives proved their usefulness once again during the Second World War and continued to provide reliable service until the 1960s. The class was eventually withdrawn in 1962 for bookkeeping rather than operational reasons. Next up we have a B4X, nicknamed Greybacks. This model is in 1936 condition, again a very stunning, elegant locomotive. The B4 class 440 steam locomotives for express passenger work on the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway were designed by R.J. Billington and were built between 1899 and 1902. 12 members of the class were rebuilt between 1922 and 1924 by LB&SCR with a larger boiler, cylinders and superheater. The rebuilt locomotives were classified B4X. Sadly, never a success. They lacked speed and had various other issues. The B4 and B4X classes continued with secondary duties, but 13 members of the class were withdrawn between 1934 and 1939. The remainder had a temporary reprieve due to the outbreak of World War II. 6 B4s and 12 B4Xs passed to British Railways in 1948. All had been withdrawn by 1951. None have survived. Now we have one of the famous Uri Class N15 or King Arthur class locomotives of the London South Western Railway. This model is number 783 Sir Lamiel, a Scotch Arthur. Built August 1925 by the North British Locomotive Company, withdrawn September 1961 from Salisbury Shed as BR number 30783. The model is extremely powerful, as you can see here, handling this 14 coach train with ease. She is in 1938 condition. The King Arthur class was a British 2-cylinder 460 express passenger steam locomotive designed by Robert W. Uri. The class had a complex build history spanning 3 subclasses and 8 years of construction from 1919 to 1926. The first batch of the class were constructed for the London South Western Railway, where they hauled heavy express trains to the south coast ports and further west to Exeter. Following the grouping of railway companies in 1923, the London South Western became part of the Southern Railway, and its publicity department gave the N15 Arthur locomotives names associated with Arthurian legend, hence the class becoming known as King Arthurs. The chief mechanical engineer of the newly formed company, Richard Mogul, modified the Uri locomotives and increased the class numbers to 74 locos. Mogul and his chief draftsman James Clayton incorporated several improvements. The new locomotives were built over several batches at Eastleigh and Glasgow, leading to the nickname of Eastleigh Arthurs and Scotch Arthurs. The locomotives continued operating with British Railways until the end of 1962. One example, number 30777 Sir Lamiel, is preserved as part of the National Collection and can be seen on mainline rail tours. This photo by Chris Stratton shows Sir Lamiel, the only survivor of the class, taken at Lewes around 1995. Finally, we see the impressive in every way Brighton Baltic L class 464 tank locomotive. The locomotive is named Remembrance, and you can find details about it on a special video on my channel. find a link in the information box with this video. I hope you have enjoyed that look at Southern Steam. This video was made with a new camera, the Canon G7X, and new software, Corel Video Studio 8X Ultimate. If you have any questions or would like to request a particular loco type, feel free to use the comments boxes below this video.